J-Bill for Real presents the X's and O's NFL podcast featuring your host, your co-host, J-Mill, and
Hi, I'm Josh.
sorry, I normally give an elaborate intro, but I just felt like throwing the fingers over today because that's kind of fun because we do the side-by-side screen now. Probably should have been doing all along, but yeah, it's fun, right?
Yeah, and I by far look my nerdiest today, wearing an Apollo 11 T-shirt and my glasses. So yeah, look my nerdiest probably ever.
I am wearing, and meanwhile, I am not wearing a cartoon character on my shirt today. I am wearing a defunct Birmingham Iron T-shirt from the league that lasted 6 games.
Nice.
Or maybe it might have been 9 or something. I don't know. But
Nice.
so I'm actually wearing football gear today, albeit already long gone enough to be forgotten, even if it was only like 3 or 4 years ago.
So today's a big day for football, man. I don't think you're making a big enough deal here. It's week 0 for college football.
Okay.
So we have
I was kind of hoping that you would jump into that.
Yeah, it's week
And
0.
It's the last weekend of NFL preseason too.
It is, and week 0 is just a fun week, man. You get all these good kickoff games, and the one big game that was supposed to be not great was the Nebraska game. Nebraska Northwestern played in Ireland, and it just was all the reasons that college football is so great. It was just a fantastic game. I'm so excited it's back. Seeing meaningful football and people that actually care. They don't laugh. They're not laughing up on the sidelines. This is real football, and it's pretty exciting.
So give us your top 2 games this week. Maybe we'll do that during the course of the Friday shows during the season. What are your top 2 games that you're looking forward to most this week?
So, I'm going to go ahead and say that there's only like 10 games this week, but what's left, the New Mexico Nevada game, I'm really looking forward to that one. I think that's going to be that's one of those styles of football where both teams want to have possession for 50 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So when you like the defensive low scoring type games, that's going to be a good one. And then on Thursday night.
So why don't we just jump in and give that the hashtag IDP awareness moment of this episode? Right?
Yeah, there we go.
We could do that in the episode in the intro.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one game last year. New Mexico State actually had the ball for I think 12 consecutive minutes.
Yeah,
and it was. I mean, it is not something you want to be watching often. But when you're watching high-paced games and then you see that, it's just crazy.
San Francisco, Cleveland, is that what we're talking here?
Oh, I want to point out, let's talk about the big news story of the day. Geno Smith is the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks.
We're calling that news. Okay. I mean, after Drew Lock's performance yesterday, they kind of had to name it. It was like, oh no, wow. I don't know. And I get it. It's just preseason, but these 2 guys were fighting for a job, and I get it that he those receivers weren't friendly to him either. But oh, come on, please. It's
so I want to do this.
Wanting it less.
This is definitely more of a gambling podcast than it is a fantasy football podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of just even the NFL breakdown versus anything. But people are going into their drafts here. I want to just do to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Now that we can actually, it's not saying, well, if we don't, it's not a guessing game as to who the quarterback is. No one is Geno Smith. Are DK and Lockett, are they even remotely valuable, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, at the risk of sounding completely wrong, one of them was like when in the 4 games that Geno had the team last year, one of them did exceptionally well, and one of them got completely shut out. I believe it was DK Metcalf that did exceptionally well when Geno was throwing him the ball. But that's 4 games with limited preparation. going into the season, knowing that Geno Smith is the quarterback, I can't picture it. I said all that to say this. I can't picture it being as good as those 4 weeks. So I would say that I don't know what ADP DK Metcalf is probably fallen somewhere in the range of like wide receiver 20, wide receiver 22. I'm guessing. I think that's this is not first things first. This is not an NFC West show today, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to look these things up. We'll cover this a little more during that show, but I'm avoiding Tyler Lockett. I'm not telling you to avoid Tyler Lockett, but I'm completely avoiding Tyler Lockett. I don't want any part of it. I'm not even.
Yeah, I know it's not
my worst team in the NFL this season, regardless of who the quarterback was. Geno Smith over Drew Lock does not change that.
Yeah, I know this isn't a West show, but I just want to take a minute because there's so many drafts are coming up here in the next couple.
Oh yeah,
next weekend is draft weekend.
Yep.
So I didn't take a second there and throw that out. But so talk about the AFC West, or sorry, AFC South.
And then we'll do a few others in there too. We're because that's not the only big news this week as a whole. But I'm just gonna say, tell Buffalo do the right thing. Matt Arisia, cut him now, get rid of him. So I'm not gonna any more than that. But you don't want that guy representing your brand or your team. So
yeah, that's just one of those things. It's an awful story, and no matter what you want to say or whatever.
Yeah,
a good guy,
and he confesses. He confesses to the underage part. He doesn't confess to the you guys know the story. I'm trying to keep the rating a little more down on this road on the show, so there are words that are harder to say. Like you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean it's bad. And he's a rookie too. You talk about it at least a couple times a year. There's the talent drama ratio, and the drama's already too high on this guy. He's a punter.
Yeah, he's a punter. Drama's already too high. Bye.
Yeah.
And that's not me excusing anything that's it's not me excusing anything a star does or an owner does, so on and so forth. I'm just pointing out it's kind of like there is no discussion here because he doesn't affect the NFL's bottom line. Man,
exactly. This is not a guy that the NFL is going to care that they lost out on.
Yeah.
As cool as it is of a story, he bombs one, like 82 yards or something like that. But it's like, you're still a punter. You're pretty easily replaced.
Yeah, no, it's it's not a good look. The Buffalo Bills need to eradicate it immediately. I get why obviously they couldn't do it on game day, but I'm looking forward to hearing about the cut over the course of the next couple of days. And if not, you guys will hear me again the next time the next day we record. So and then the final piece of the final piece of like intro stuff before we get into it. Since the last time we did an offensive show together, the suspension for Deshaun has gone to 11 games. And yes, we could wait to the AFC North show, but I just gotta say one thing. And if Deshaun aside, since we're on the topic of Goodell, sort of, kind of, an 11-game suspension is completely asinine. I'm just gonna say it right now. It's unprecedented. It's we've seen 10 and 12 before. The only reason why this is an 11-game suspension is because it puts Watson on track to play against Texans the first game he's back. So that shows NFL greed at its finest. So I'm not taking this from the Watson perspective at all. We'll cover that during the AFC North episode. This is just a shot at the NFL because, it's clearly just all about the money. It's clearly about about the money.
One thing I was listening to and podcast, and I can't remember the name of it, but they're talking the contract language for this agreement is the same as Josh Gordon's.
Okay.
Where in 11 games, he's has to be reinstated by the commissioner, and he is not eligible for that prior to week 11. But the language also says that if the commissioner still thinks it's not in the best interest of football, he doesn't have to reinstate him yet.
But but in the commissioner's mind, it's going to be in the best interest of football if Deshaun play his former team his first week back.
I mean, I'm going to say this, and I'm being selfish here, and you're going to hate me for this kind of a mindset.
Okay.
But for me, I think this makes Deshaun extremely valuable in late rounds. And
I'm not going to hate you for saying that. Like,
I've been able to get Deshaun Watson now in 3 different drafts, all of them after the 10th round. So
there was one league where you showed me a team where you had 2 quarterbacks plus Deshaun. I think you're wasting a bench spot on 3 quarterbacks, and I feel like you should cut one of the 3 or trade one of the 3, because I do think that the whole, like, if you already have one of the big guys that you trust starting, just stream for your bye week, and if you plan on stashing on the bench, don't just put one QB on your bench. Don't put, and obviously we're not talking about this like we're talking about regular redraft. We're not talking about dynasty here. We're not talking about best ball, so on and so forth. We're talking about for regular redraft. So, but yeah, so I would say, like, I mean, obviously, I will not do that in any league. But it's one of those things where it's not an unintelligent move. It's an intelligent move to stash him on your bench if you have the space. But at the same time, make sure you got the space.
Yeah.
So the league, convince yourself you have the space when it's like, oh wow, my starting wide receivers aren't as good as I thought they were.
So what's nice about the league you're specifically referring to here, it's a 4-keeper league. So I'm going to be able to hold on to Watson every year after this. I got him very late. But let's talk about I think that's all the news, right? There's nothing else. Oh, I want to point out that Sunday night broadcast team is definitely improved with Mike Tirico in the booth. I just wanted to point that out because I always complain about the announcers. I like that one.
And I also love the fact that Matthew Berry is now part of pre-games and halftime show when NBC does, I think, Sunday Night in America. So I'm really looking forward to a fantasy analyst being part of the NFL experience, the main NFL experience. So yeah, there are some positives behind the booth this year, but we still have certain people that are gonna age out very poorly, but we'll leave that as it is.
So yeah, AFC South.
AFC South. There's a lot of good and a lot of nothing.
So I want we've done 2 divisions before this. We did the AFC East, NFC East. So of the 3, we're going to do this each week. Of the 3 that we now AFC, so the AFC South being included, which of them is the best division and which of them is the worst division? And I'm going to ask each week, and we'll keep it running total.
Okay, so AFC South versus AFC East versus NFC East. So I think the worst team. I think that the NFC East has 2 teams that can be bad as any team that is. The NFC East has 2 of the worst 3 teams, in my opinion. The AFC East has the best team in my opinion, and it could be argued 2 of the 3 best teams. So really, when this argument is being made, I think it really comes down to where you view the Titans and the Jaguars, where someone views the Titans and the Jaguars. If you believe that the Titans are the team that, despite adversity, took the 1 seed last year, and therefore they're destined to be a top AFC team again this year, then you have to say that the AFC South is the best division, in my opinion, as long as you have Jacksonville progressing a little. With that said, I am not a person who's under the impression that the Tennessee Titans are going to come even close to repeating what they did last year. And I am also not under the impression that, though I believe that there will be that the Jaguars will get better, I believe it'll be in a similar manner to which the Jets get better. So ultimately, what I'm saying is I'm going AFC East, AFC South, and NFC East. How about you?
Yeah, for me it's AFC South, AFC East, NFC East.
Okay, so you definitely believe in the Titans then.
It's the Titans and the Colts, and I think that outweighs the Bills and whoever you have coming in second in the AFC
I
East.
think the Dolphins are better than the Titans this year. I'm just gonna say it right
Okay.
there.
Yeah, and so that's it for me. I also think I think the South is going to be kind of entertaining, and the AFC East definitely has a lot of opportunity to have a very weak bottom two teams. If
I
you've been watching any of the preseason stuff from the Patriots, they are bad. Like they are very not good.
Yeah, I mean it's I'm not gonna put too much stock until I see Belichick faltering in the regular season. Um, there are some positives of that we're seeing Quan Thornton in the first preseason game. That was pleasant to watch. Josh Uche again has been having an excellent preseason for the Patriots, but I feel like coming out of the preseason with the Patriots, it always kind of feels this way. Does that make sense?
Mm, it does. So, but let's go ahead and start talking about the division we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah, so let's start at the bottom because alphabetically they come first. If you don't think the Houston Texans, like, it's funny because some people are saying how, oh yeah, no, the Jaguars were clearly the worst team in the NFL last year, and I was like, did you guys not pay attention to what the Texans did for the first 3 quarters of the season? They just had a slightly better finish than the Jaguars. The Texans were the worst team in the league last year. They didn't finish with the worst record. And honestly, if it wasn't for the Seattle Seahawks, it would. Um, I'm not even going to say that. The Houston Texans are a bottom 5 team in the league this year. Like, right? They didn't do enough this offseason in order to
No, they did.
take the next step. Last year, when you look at where they were last in total offense in the league. What did they really do in order to make that situation better? Okay, and I get it. Davis Mills here too. We're hearing stuff about Nico Collins, but what did they really do to make that offense better, other than rookie Damian Pierce?
And that's I think Pierce is going to be pretty good. He's going to be fun, mid-tier running back. But ultimately, the team is just still they're definitely light years behind the rest of the league.
Yeah, I mean, and while we're on Pierce, I'm just going to come right out and say it. He's obviously not a sleeper because he's somebody who's on everyone's radar. And Nico Collins at this point in time isn't a sleeper anymore either because he's someone that has generated a lot of hype. When it comes down to the two of them, my breakout for this Texans offense is gonna be Damian Pierce this season. And you're saying, some people might say that, running backs on bad teams don't do well. And it's like, what have you not been paying attention to? Because running backs on bad teams do well all the time if they have the talent. You can't give the line as an excuse. You can't give the team as an excuse. Like, it happens all the time. It's just about opportunity. And honestly, Damian Pierce is clearly not being challenged. Like, he had another unreal preseason game, and I get it. It's just preseason. But I feel very comfortable calling him my breakout in that offense. And I'm going to be pulling up some of the DraftKings numbers to look at some overs really quick because obviously this changes and we know these numbers get adjusted based off that preseason game that was yesterday. You got any words on Damian Pierce versus Nico Collins? I'm guessing one of them out.
No, I kind of want a weird route here.
Okay.
My breakout sorry, my breakout is going to be Davis Mills.
Okay.
I don't think he's going
I
to.
don't think that's
We're going to. I don't think we're going to be talking about him at the end of the year, saying like, "Oh my goodness!" Like he's that. I don't think we're going to ever call him a top 10, but I think calling him a top 15 is realistic. And then I also still think, a huge thing comes into the Brandon Cooks factor, and the guy is the guy has had 6 seasons in the NFL, 5 of them top 20 seasons under 4 different
oh yeah.
quarterbacks.
You can't say enough about Brandon Cooks. Like it's pretty clear how important he is. That's why he is the That's why he's the MVP of my Texans offense. And I want to use that term lightly because yes, I definitely think he'll be hitting his numbers, but he's not going to propel them to any real level of relevance. But I still, I'm giving an offense MVP for them. And I think it's just as safe to pick Cooks as ever. But I interrupted you. Jump right back in.
No, I was just going to say, even though they do have some bright spots on offense, I still think that this is the worst team in this division. And I don't even think it's really that close of a comparison. They're a lot worse.
Yeah, no. They're last year it was close between them and the Jaguars. The Jaguars did significant moves to improve the team this offseason.
It does help though when you're the first team in the last 30 years of the NFL to have back-to-back number one overall picks.
Yes, no, it definitely does. So, Damian Pierce on DraftKings does not have a rushing total for this season because they're probably responding to what happened yesterday, and they're probably upping it before they lose more money on this guy. I'm going to say this. I definitely believe that whatever it is, it's not going to be high enough, in my opinion.
So give us a number that you feel comfortable at.
I think I feel comfortable Damian Pierce putting together maybe 1,100 total. I'm not even thinking twice if the number is if the number of rushing yard 17 game season. Crap. I don't know how to judge a 17 game. We're just gonna say he's injured for the extra game.
Okay.
I'm not even thinking twice if the number is under 850.
Okay.
I will probably still play it over at 9.
Okay.
So again, I'm not predicting this guy to be a superstar or anything. I'm just saying that I feel very, you get what I'm saying. Like,
Yep.
I wouldn't be shocked if he got a Rookie of the Year vote. I would be shocked if he won.
So how many prop bets do you have here for the Texans? I found this was a little tricky. I have 3 total prop bets. 2 of them are player props. So how many more do you have?
Okay, so next time I am going to Brandon Cooks, and the reason why I don't have them written down is I know these numbers change. So it's one of those things where,
Are you looking at his total receiving yards?
Yeah, I'm looking at Brandon Cooks' total receiving yards. I think it's
950 and a half. 950 and a half.
Yeah, it's
And
stupid.
I know.
It's stupid to think he's not going to be going over 1,000.
Yeah, and I only know that right off the top of my head because that's also one of my player props. I think it's pretty easy to pick it.
Yeah, it's actually incredibly easy to pick it. I will be playing that. I don't know if I'll be playing the Damian Pierce because I don't know what it's going to land at. But at the same time, I don't feel comfortable enough playing Nico Collins. I know a lot of people love it because he was supposed to do some level of stuff last year, but I'm not telling you to avoid Nico Collins. I'm not telling you to don't play it. I'm as don't bet on it. I'm not telling you not to draft him as a late round flyer. I'm just saying that yesterday I had the opportunity to pick up Nico Collins off the waiver off of free agency in one of the leagues I was in, and it rewards good for return yards. And I decided to go with Turpine from the Cowboys instead. So,
yeah. So my other prop bet here is I'm going to go with Davis Mills over 35 and over 3,500 passing yards. I think that's a pretty low number.
yeah, I mean, considering 17 game season, and they're going to be behind all the time. And now
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, a second receiver. Do they have a tight
They're going
end?
to have. I don't recall who their tight end would be off the top of my head, but I think they have enough weapons to when you're down consistently and you have to just air it out the entire second half. I think it will be okay.
Yeah, no, it definitely is something that I don't think it's a stretch. Not one that I'm playing. But looking through.
I do want to say while you look, I'll say the other one I do think is worth a play.
Okay.
So college football, 12-game season. If you're That's if you get the bowl game, 12-game season.
Okay.
You can place a wager right now on the University of Houston to have more wins than the Houston Texans, and it's even money, but you also have to give the Texans a game and a half. So I like the University of Houston to have more wins by more than 1.5 over the Texans. So there you go.
Oh man. Um. Yeah. I don't even like. It's still Lovie Smith in charge. I love Lovie Smith. He's amazing. He was amazing 10 years ago. I don't like. I don't know. Like. The point is, I make points about Andy Reid and Bill Belichick not being as good as they were 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That point applies to Lovie Smith too. It's and yes, he did a respectable job getting the Texans back to relevance in the late portion of last season, but really nothing has changed. So why are we expecting a better result? So that's the easy way to put it. Their defense was just as bad last year. They had the second worst defense in the league last year, and frankly, I don't have them moving up from the worst offense, and I don't have them moving up from the second worst defense.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty bad. So that's it. Like, I didn't really go too deep into where I think they're going to fall on what things. They're just not good.
All right, finally, over under. Vegas has them at 4.5 wins. Are you taking the over, the under, or are you refusing to play because you think it's too close?
Yeah, I'm gonna refuse. I'm gonna pass on this one. I think 4.5 is right around. It's gonna be between right. It's gonna be low, but 4.5 is I think maybe a little too low.
Okay. I'm playing the under.
Oh wow. Okay.
I didn't project this team for 4 wins. I project this team for 3 wins. When I look through everything, I feel I was generous with the wins that I gave.
Okay.
So I feel comfortable to play the under on the Texans, which is stupid because you should never play the under on 4.5 out of 17. But
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's it's probably the one I feel the safest about playing in this whole division. Besides Jacksonville, which moving right along. Next is Indy, not Jacksonville. Now we get to go from the worst team to the best team. Are we in agreement on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Didn't have to do much to stay there.
So let's just get the easy MVP out of the way early. Like yours is Jonathan Taylor also, right? Like it's not.
Yeah, it is.
We can't call him a breakout or a sleeper. He's clearly the most. Anybody who's saying he's not the most important person on this offense is just doing it to be contrary. It's impossible to be that stupid. Like
Right. I'd love to give you another name, but there's just not another name for this team. They're gonna go as far as Taylor's legs are gonna take them, and that's it.
Yeah. And will Matt Ryan be a little better than Carson Wentz? Yes, of course he'll be a little bit better. But I'm just gonna say this now because I brought up the name. I'm getting sick and tired. Like, when are the Colts gonna get the rookie quarterback? Like, when are they gonna get the young quarterback? Because I'm getting sick and tired of this Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers thing that's been going on for the last 3 years. It's like, oh, let's look for a veteran that's not completely washed up yet. Bingo! Matt Ryan is here. What do you have to say about
Yeah,
Matt Ryan?
I actually think I don't understand why they want Matt Ryan over Jimmy G, but
Yeah, I don't either.
this is where football is weird too, because football is not guaranteed money. A lot of Jimmy G's contract is not guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So you have to assume for final cut downs, the 49ers are going to release Jimmy Garoppolo to save the cap hit, and somebody else is going to take him and not have to pay a draft pick to do it. But I could see it being Indianapolis still.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's obviously it makes well, no, I was gonna say obviously it makes more sense for Seattle, but not if they're tanking intentionally for the first pick, which you can't tell me at this point in time that they're not tanking intentionally for the first pick.
Yeah,
I don't believe you. So it's um and that's one of the reasons why I think the Texans are safe on not getting the first pick overall. Because I actually think the Seahawks will be good at tanking when they try it. Or maybe they're like me when my fantasy team's not doing well. It's like, okay, I'm gonna tank and accidentally go on a 3-game winning streak because
you've
because
done that.
I've done it twice. I it's it's not a good feeling when you're so bad you can't tank. Like,
That's funny. Yeah.
um, not saying I'm bad at fantasy football, just saying that I don't know how to tank apparently. Like, but yeah, no. So going back to Ryan and Taylor, like so you're thinking there's a shot for the Jimmy G replacement. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna go with Ryan until he proves I'm wrong. It's just I don't know. Like if you told me this, like that Jimmy G became available when they started these experiments with Philip Rivers, I would say, oh yeah, I could definitely see that. But now that they're very entrenched in picking up that 35-year-old quarterback to game manage their franchise, I'm not sure that I don't know. I'm not sure that Jimmy G would be there. Jumping back to Jonathan Taylor for a moment, we're pulling up his just pulled up his rushing total on DraftKings, and yeah, it's listed at 1,450 and a half. Or is that something that you're going to consider playing, or is that something where a number close to 1,500 scares you away a little?
Yeah, it does one of them scare me away a little. It scares me away all the way, but
Okay.
not to a point where I play the under. It's
Oh
just one
no.
where I look at it and it's one where I look at it and I'm like, that's an interesting prop that I'm gonna stay away from.
Yeah, no, you can't play the under on this. It's either play it
No.
or avoid it. And personally, I am going to avoid also. It was worth bringing up because I know some people will look and it's kind of like 1,800-yard season last year. This is a no brainer, and I'm kind of like, well, how many times have you, other than Terrell Davis, like how many how many times have you seen a person go over 1,500 back to back seasons? And I know it happened. Well, no, uh, Barry Barry Sanders did it multiple times too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's all you're looking back into the 90s right now for references. So
Yeah, we're yeah. So when I started thinking, I was like, okay, I saw this all the time as a child, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith. But the game has changed significantly since that era. I don't remember the last time we had. Did Derrick Henry? Let's pull it up. Let's see if Derrick Henry, if anyone did it recently, it was him, right?
yeah, it would be yeah.
Derrick.
And well, you pull that up, I'll fill the time by just saying I think this is a really good Colts team. And I think they don't need a good quarterback. So I've heard the big knock on them as a quarterback. I don't think this team, with their defense being as good as it is, the run game being so solid, I don't think they need a good quarterback. I think they need a Jimmy G or a Matt Ryan, somebody that's just not going to lose the game for you. He'll manage it. He'll help you burn the clock out with 4 minutes left, and that's it.
Derrick Henry in 2019 did 1,540. the following year, we all know he went over 2,000 yards. So yes,
Yeah.
there is an extra game now, but Frank Reich has already said things like he wants to open up the offense a little bit more. He actually feels that Ryan can do that compared to what Wentz couldn't. He's telling people that and this could all be tongue-in-cheek stuff from the coach. Like he was like, if I were drafting a fantasy football team, I'd take a late round flyer on Nyheim Hines. Like he literally said that in an interview, and it's kind of like,
But one thing I think you have to look at too, and none of us are really knowing how to factor this in yet. But with the extra game, without the extra bye week, I think a guy like Taylor is going to hurt a little bit gaining yards because teams are going to be far more likely to start pulling their starters back and start giving the ball to Nyheim Hines. Take some of those tackles away from Jonathan Taylor's legs.
yeah, and they have Philip Lindsay too. Like they have a guy who could legitimately spell him for a little bit. So honestly, these are the things that I'm not saying that Jonathan Taylor can't win a rushing crowd. I'm not saying that you if you have your
the
first
the numbers just really high. There's
yeah,
too many unknowns for this type of thing, and for the number to be so high.
yeah. I mean, you still take him with the first pick in your draft too. Like
Absolutely.
we're not trying to steer you away from anything at all, but we're just simply pointing out that it's I don't think it's a safe over. So and the Nyheim Hines thing definitely intrigues me because, well, frankly, we've seen him do it before. Number one, and we saw what Cordell Patterson did coming out of the backfield last year. So, there's no overs listed for Hines at this point in time. But it's enough for. I don't know what to call him because he's clearly not a breakout because he's broken out before. But I guess people have been sleeping on him recently. So Hines is a nice little sleeper on this offense, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's all you can give him credit for, though. He's a sleeper on this type of a team,
yep,
and it's definitely a deeper sleeper, and you're never gonna know when to play it.
yep.
It's kind of like if
Unless it becomes a play every week.
I think Nyheim Hines is gonna end up being a lot like guys like you know, I can't give you any great names, so I'm just gonna stick with the one I do know.
Okay.
Like Darrell Henderson
Okay.
or Chuba Hubbard. You're going to take Nyheim Hines just in case Jonathan Taylor goes down, or they have to manage his workload.
Well, wouldn't that
If
be
they,
Philip Lindsay then?
no, I think it's Nyheim Hines then because then he's going to get the pass catch and stuff.
Okay. I kind of view him third down role only, but potato. Like we're not anticipating Taylor to go down this year, and if he does,
No,
we're looking at the Colts in a very different light as a whole, anyway.
yeah,
One thing to note, breakout for this offense. I am going to go back to Michael Pittman again as far as that goes, mainly because we've seen a interesting stat. I think I picked it up within the last 2 days or so. Can I give credit to somebody? Um, I
yeah. I was going to say it's good. We can keep moving on.
it's a stat. It's not a take. Since 2016, every wide receiver one on every top target on a team has finished no less than seventh in the NFL in targets on a Matt Ryan team.
Oh wow.
So he feeds his top target to a top 7 target share. This is different receivers too. Over the course of that time, we had Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Kyle Pitts. So, and you're saying, well, is Michael Pittman as good as any of them? Yeah. Michael Pittman is at least belongs in the conversation with them. There is no reason to think that he's not going to be fed quite a bit. So, really, when it comes down to it, let's pull up a reception total really quick. You got anything to say about Michael Pittman or that set?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw my first prop out to just help keep us moving along.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman over 1,025 total receiving yards this year.
Yeah. I
I think
will
it's a good number.
find
You
out.
know, you put him around. I'd say you're putting him around like 55 per game, or 65 per game. I think that's a good number for him.
Especially if he's going to be getting that target, that huge target share. It's going to, really when it comes down to it, we don't think that Matt Ryan's fallen off enough, and there's no way to think that Michael Pittman suddenly develops a case of them drops. So if the volume's
Right.
there, which there's no reason to think the volume isn't going to be there, um, yeah,
Yep.
it's a very easy one to play. We have seen when he's had two receivers, we have seen Matt Ryan Matt Ryan supply two relevant fantasy receivers. I don't. I like Alec Pierce a lot, but I don't know if he's the second receiver the whole season. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Then, so what's your first prop bet? 'Cause I do have one more that I really like, and then I have a backup in case you accidentally somehow picked it.
Okay, so my two picks for this one were going to be the yard over on Pittman and the do not play Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. I actually really like the under on Matt Ryan interceptions.
Okay,
It's the over right now is set at 11 and a half. I really like that. I don't think he's going to have to throw into pressure situations that much this year.
Carson Wentz threw a whole lot less interceptions last year too. The way that Colts offense works, it takes the pressure off of. I know the offensive line got a little worse with no more Eric Fisher, but it's still a great offensive line.
Yeah, 'cause I wouldn't be surprised if we can see a stretch of games, 3, 4 games in a row where Matt Ryan only has one interception for the entire stretch. So I like that one. And then so yeah, that's it. That's all I have for the Colts. My But you got it. We got to answer the over under on the total wins.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say don't be completely sleeping on Mo Alley Cox. Um, we have seen Ryan make tight ends relevant before. So, and Mo Alley's enjoyed a nice little preseason. So Jelani Woods is definitely not claiming that job from him anytime too soon. But that's partially because his development isn't ready yet at this point. But Mo Alley Cox, just throwing the name out there. Do what you want to do with it. Beyond that, yeah. We are going back to the where they finished last year. Last year, Indianapolis finished in total offense. They finished 16th, and this year, I personally have them. I have them finishing 17th. I think the difference between the one thing that we have to remember is so I have them just right around the middle of the league as far as it goes, right where they were last year. And the only reason why I dropped down a spot, yes, I get that Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan's an improvement, but Carson Wentz wasn't completely awful the whole season last year. And there's just other offenses that I feel improved more. Like we're bringing back mostly the same receiving core. We're bringing back the same running backs. Like you get what I'm saying. Like it's when a team looks a lot the same, they better have dominated every team in the league last year because when you're not moving forward in the NFL, you're moving back. And I think the win total will be higher, but I think this offense looks very similar to the way it looked last year. Anything is on the offense as far as that?
Yeah, I think the offense looks very similar, and that's a good thing.
Okay.
I'm taking a different approach than you. I'm saying that they improved by more than enough by simply having the same offense, get 1 year older.
Top 10?
Just, see, that's where it's weird because obviously I think they're going to have the best rushing game in football. But I think they're going to have a mid-tier, average
But
passing game.
they didn't have the best running game in football last year, right?
I don't think Jonathan Taylor's done progressing.
Okay.
I don't think he's peaked yet. So I do like this team. I'm gonna say, I'll give them 10th. Like, without doing any quick math, they're borderline top 10. They're
Okay.
just on the cusp of what I really like.
I can respect that. And last year, believe it or not, the defense, this really good Colts defense, finished 16th in total yards last year too. So I think that is definitely going to be different this year. I definitely have them much closer to the top 10 this year. But the thing I'm going to say about this defense has a chance to be special.
Okay.
So I covered it in my defensive show. I did put them in the top 10. I think that's very safe to pick them up later in drafts if you're drafting fantasy. But there's a defense that I like the most in the league as far as where I believe that it's going to be. And that defense is going to be mentioned in the near future. No, I think I've already mentioned it on the defensive end. So I think the Packers are going to have the best defense in the NFL, but that's only if either the Colts or the Ravens don't turn out to be a special defense. I think there is a chance that we see a special defense from either the Colts or the Ravens this year. And when I say special, I'm talking about a historic level defense, like a not comparing it directly to a Legion of Boom or a Ravens 2000, but saying that it will be the next defense that everyone's remembering 10 years later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. I do think that this Colts defense is very good, but also I do have the same thought process you do. That there's the potential for at least three potential elite level defenses this year.
Yep.
So I think being top 15 in defense is going to be good enough. So it's really I don't know. I think they are what they are. They're not going to be one of the top ones, but they're not going to be bad either.
Yeah, and a team that's a defense that's very safe to pick up in a fantasy draft too, in my opinion, because
Yeah, absolutely.
all right, Vegas has them at 10. 10 wins.
I'm taking the over on that.
Okay.
I think you're getting three from the bottom two teams in your division. Then you probably split with Tennessee. That puts you at 4 right there.
I mean, they've split with Tennessee even when Tennessee was the best team in the division. So, it's very easy to go 10. I don't like even numbers. So I'm not, and I've made a rule for myself that if I won't play it, I won't recommend it.
Mm.
I'm not
So
saying you shouldn't play it, but I'm not
so,
playing even number win totals this year.
so where I am with this is in every one of my parlays for division winners, the Colts will have won this division. So I'm really high on them. I think 10 is really low. They're competing for the 1 seed, and I can't think a team with 10 wins competes for the 1 seed.
Oh, okay. And the only reason why I would be hesitant on 10.5 is because they are playing the AFC West this year. That division does play the AFC West. Correct. Let's make it 10.5. I'll do whatever odds boost it needs to be, and I'll take the over.
Okay. And so now moving on. Let's move on.
Okay.
If we keep up a good pace here, we could do a couple recordings before a draft.
All right. Jacksonville Jaguars. Doug Peterson is one of 2 candidates that I think has a serious shot for Coach of the Year this year. That will tell you everything that I think about the Jacksonville Jaguars. The other one is Dan Campbell. I don't think that the Jaguars will make the playoffs, but I think they'll be a drastically improved team in the Doug Peterson era. I actually think the Lions could make the playoffs, so I don't think that Doug Peterson's the favorite to win Coach of the Year. I think that would be Dan Campbell. But I'm just throwing that out there right now that Doug Peterson will be in the conversation, not receive a vote, but will be in the conversation for what he does with this team this year. Got anything to say off of that?
So that's where I was looking earlier, thinking about the coach of the year here. I obviously love Dan Campbell, and the more episodes of Hard Knocks I watch, the more I love him. At this point, I think I'm going to try to leave my wife to go have a baby with Dan Campbell at some point. But for this award, do you take into account the fact that Dan Campbell already had a year under his belt in Detroit, versus Doug Peterson, who had to come in after the Urban Meyer debacle? Because
if Doug Peterson gets 9 wins and misses the playoffs, and Dan Campbell gets 10 wins and makes the playoffs, I would vote for Doug Peterson.
Yeah, me too, because he's coming in off of that awful Urban Meyer experiment.
Yeah. I don't know if the NFL will vote that way, though, because Dan Campbell already has the upper hand with the Hard Knocks exposure. So there is a Dan Campbell bias going into the season. Everybody wants the Lions to succeed this year, other than Bears fans.
Yeah, and I was high on the Lions train before the draft,
and maybe Vikings fans too. I couldn't tell you. I don't know what the level of rivalry is there.
I was talking to some people the other day that don't even really like football, and they started watching Hard Knocks because everybody was talking about what a character this coach was.
Yeah, and his assistant coaches too.
One of the people I was talking to actually said it's a lot like watching Joe Exotic, just with football. And I was like, and then she.
You remember when Charlie Sheen was kind of having his breakdown there for a little bit?
Oh yeah, no. How could we not remember that? Unless we were too young for that.
So yeah, overall,
your audio quality has definitely lost something. So but while you're getting back your audio, I'm just gonna say, Doug Peterson is the right guy to bring this Jaguars team back to relevance. And a really good guy for developing Trevor Lawrence too. But let's see if you have that final Dan Campbell point and you got back online here. Yes, no? Okay, so while you're getting there, just feel free to interrupt me when you get back to that point. We saw what Nick Foles and Carson Wentz have been outside of Doug Peterson. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look pretty at all what Wentz and Foles have been outside of Doug Peterson. Yet Foles was a Super Bowl winning quarterback with Doug Peterson. And honestly, when you're comparing the talent level that's being talked about of the Nick Foles compared to a Trevor Lawrence, the talent level definitely favors Trevor Lawrence. So if Peterson can win the big one with Foles and can have Carson Wentz looking as good as he did until he was no longer an Eagle, I am definitely a believer in Trevor Lawrence this year. So any things that do you got some Dan Campbell stuff to finish and any words on Trevor Lawrence?
Both I'm actually going to save some of my Trevor Lawrence conversation because all my player prop bets for Jacksonville revolve around Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, and I'm guessing you're taking overs?
Yeah, but not all the ones you're going to think I'm taking.
Okay. I'm very intrigued. So
I want to take a minute though. So I'm just going to say them real quick, so that way when we do move on from Trevor Lawrence, we don't have to revisit it again.
Yeah,
I like his touchdown over of 22.5. I also am going to take his interception over of 14.5.
I didn't take his interception over. I took his touchdown over, and definitely taking the yards over too. Give me one moment. I got the number.
4,000. It's 4,500 right now.
4,500 right now. Okay, good. I definitely honestly, I could see the high interception total too. Like, I'm not gonna play it, but I'm not gonna say this is a Jameis Winston type season, but I'm not predicting 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. But I definitely I could definitely still see the year two struggles in there. But the volume is definitely going to be there, and that kind of transitions a little into who's his favorite target. His favorite target by a mile has appeared to be Christian Kirk, and kind of wish I was on this bandwagon before I did the majority of my drafts. Like, to be completely honest, because or maybe made a trade for Kirk or Lawrence before this episode went live, and everyone's like, "Oh, J-Mill likes this. Now we're not going to trade it to him." So, but at the same time, it's I'm just coming out and saying it now because I'm doing proper service to you, and at 825.5 yards for Christian Kirk, I am definitely hitting the over on that. This is 1,000 yards per receiving season for Christian Kirk. Do you have a weapon you like more than Kirk, or are you in the Kirk category too?
Yeah, for me, it's Kirk. And a big thing I want to point out here is I can't take either of these running backs or any of these running backs in Jacksonville because I don't know which one of them is going to end up having the job at week 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'm afraid of the running back scenario, and I know people feel so confident about Travis Etienne, but that now it's looking like it's James Robinson. I would say this: if you're playing like best ball, and you could put both on your team, then that's a good play because one of them's going to be really good. Maybe both of them. This might be a Chubb Hunt. I think I mentioned Chubb Hunt in relation to these guys before, but I don't know which one's which. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's never a good feeling. That you can't take anything with that.
Yeah. So, and if I was going to take one of them, I'm clearly going to fantasy for one quick moment. I'm clearly taking the guy whose ADP is 20 running backs lower, right? Because
absolutely, you're not paying the same.
Yeah, I can get James Robinson in maybe the 9th, 10th round, and Etienne I have to get in the 3rd or 4th. No, thank you. So yeah, I don't know who the other receiver is. Like, I would love to tell you that I had a bona fide sleeper for this offense, but really when it comes down to it, it's because of how overwhelming the Christian Kirk news is. Christian Kirk is an obvious breakout. I guess it's also pretty obvious to call Trevor Lawrence a breakout. But I'm just going to flat out call Trevor Lawrence the offensive MVP instead of calling him a breakout. So if we're saying Kirk's going to break out and we're calling Lawrence the MVP, with all this said, the Jaguars don't have an easy schedule. They're looking at it's kind of like, okay, we have the Raiders, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Colts twice, the Titans twice. Oh, yay, we get to play the Texans. Okay, well, let's see. Let's look at our other 3rd place finishers from last year. Oh, crap. We have to face the Baltimore Ravens and the New England Patriots. It just doesn't. The schedule just continues to beat up on Jaguars the whole way. It's an awful year to be a 3rd place team in the AFC the previous year because you get the Jaguars, the Chargers, the Patriots, and I just said the name of the team and the Ravens. Like, you do not want to be playing the 3rd place schedule in the AFC. You'd actually prefer the 1st place schedule, I feel. Well, maybe not, but you'd prefer the 2nd place schedule. So do you have a sleeper on this offense before I jump into where I've clearly transitioned us?
No, I don't. We can go right to where you're going.
Yeah, so when I look at with that said, the win total is listed at 6.5. So it really doesn't matter that I have this as an 8 and 9 team, because it's such a low win total. Yeah, give me over the 6.5 all day, every day. How about you?
Yeah, I'm taking that too. I'm seeing 2 in the division, right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like it. I also think they're going to have fun this year, and when the team's having fun, they're a lot more dangerous.
Yep. And also that defense, don't sleep on the defense. I talked about that defense probably more than the other three defenses when I was doing the show. I might have talked about the Colts one more, but that across the linebacker group that features Trevon Walker and Josh Allen at the edge, and Oluokun Muma and Lloyd occupying, traditional linebackers. That goes into, they're running the Bucs defense that the Bucs have been running over the course of the last few years. So combining what Peterson did in Philly with the offense with what Tampa's been doing over the last 4 years with the defense, I don't know. I like the team. Last year, Jacksonville finished 27th in offense. I see that going way up. I have them just around the middle of the league as far as that goes. Maybe a little under. I need to see a little more from Trevor Lawrence, but this is not a bottom 10 offense anymore. So, how about you? What do you think as far as that goes?
He'd be crazy to think it's a bottom 10 offense, but I also think it'd be crazy to say it's a top 10 offense. So somewhere in the middle, call it a day. Good improvement.
Last year, Jacksonville, before they overhauled the defense this offseason, had a ranked 20 defense. So really, when I'm looking at it, I need to be able to see what these rookies are going to do, because they are relying on 3 rookies in the heart of that defense. I could see this number going up, but I only have them just above the middle of the league, which is still an improvement on last year. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, moderate improvement. 2 out of 3 rookies hitting isn't going to be bad. So yeah, middle of the road offense, middle of the road defense, middle of the road team. That's where they are.
Yeah,
which is a drastic and that's a drastic improvement over where they used to be.
Yeah, because last year this time we were talking about them as a bottom 3 team in the league with Houston and Detroit. So, moving right along to our final team of this division, the Tennessee Titans. I'll let you lead off on the Titans. I'm not even sure where to start here.
So I think, Henry's still Henry, but I think they accidentally have drama in the quarterback room, which is not going to go well. Also, this is a fan base that needs to win.
I think Ryan Tannehill is definitely the quarterback this year. Malik Willis isn't.
Oh, yeah, but I think Tannehill is going to have if he's anything like Aaron Rodgers, he's just going to whine about it all season. But I don't think Tannehill is good enough to back it up with the play on the field if he's whining. Ultimately, I like this team. I think they're a wild card team. And they're going to go with – it's crazy to think of how good they were last year when Henry got hurt. And now they're getting back a fully recharged Derrick Henry with a lot of hits not on his body last season.
Is this – so a lot of this comes back to Derrick Henry because but let's pretend for a moment that he doesn't – let's just pretend for a moment he doesn't return as Derrick Henry. He returns as part of Derrick Henry. Whatever part you want to, whatever part you want to focus in on. Can this team do what they did? Like, I'm not trying to disrespect Vrabel at all. I'm really not. And this question comes off as disrespectful to Vrabel. But I'm just going to say it anyway. I don't think you can pull off whatever magic act you did last year 2 seasons in a row.
But why do you think that? Why are you just discounting them?
Because I don't get how it happened.
Okay.
And many times, and I'm a very thoughtful person, and I try to look for the reasons why things happened. And most of the time, I can figure out why something happened when it happened. I don't get the why of how it happened. But I don't get the how of how it happened last year.
Okay.
Or why it would be repeatable. And I know it's a fallacy to say because you can't understand why something would be repeatable, therefore it's not repeatable. But at the same time,
It does come across a little arrogant.
But we don't hear anybody else giving a why either.
Right. No, I'm saying like, Vrabel could just be a top 2, top 3 coach. And he could be the guy that's able to win with, the grocery store bagger, like, Belichick was for so many years. But I do have to say, I think that this team for success needs Derrick Henry. And that's mainly because I think that if they don't have Henry, the Colts
so that's you saying you agree, you just didn't want to say it.
Well, I only agree because I think not because of the coach or because of anything in Houston, or sorry, anything in Tennessee. It's because of what's going on in Indianapolis. I think that you need to have a very dominant team in order to stay competitive with the Colts before they run away with this thing before the halfway point.
Do you think the Titans have? Well, I mean, clearly, you ranked that division above the AFC East. So you clearly think that the Titans are, and you said they're a wild card team, so you definitely believe the Titans keep pace with the Colts.
Yeah, I do. But if Henry's not Henry, then we have problems. But I'll say I'll just throw it out there. One of my prop bets is Derrick Henry to break the single season rushing total. The number is 2,105.5 that he'd have to hit in order to break it. And a $10 wager there will get you back 200. I think if there's any guy that's going to smash through a record this year, it's going to be Derrick Henry breaking that one because he's got the additional game now.
I hope you're right. It's so easy. It's so easy to root for Derrick Henry, in my opinion. It's
and with the additional game, he went over 2,000 already. Throw one more game and say, hey, Derek, you need 98 yards to be the all-time rushing leader, per single season.
But his efficiency, the last 2 years have been, he was better efficiency-wise 3 years ago than he's been the last 2 years. So a lot of the argument is going to come down to volume. And obviously you continue to feed Henry. But I think last year we were definitely seeing his touches go well over 30 a game. Is over 30 a game something that his body can sustain for a 17-game season without injury?
I don't want to say no because Derrick Henry's a beast. You look at the guy, he's a beast. However, I'm going to say I don't think it's going to be a problem because I think Houston's going to prepare to have a snap, kind of like a touchdown on him, and not let him get burnt out before the end of the season, and not let him take the big hits. And I think you're going to get to a situation where Freeman comes in, somebody like that, midway through the fourth quarter.
I think the guy is Hilliard.
Yeah, Hilliard, that's who it is. Yeah,
Foreman is with the Carolina Panthers now.
Yeah, it's good. He's not draftable anyway. Because I also don't think Henry goes down for any prolonged period of time this year. Ike Hilliard also, not Ike Hilliard. That's a very old school wide receiver.
Yeah, right. Dontrell Hilliard and
yes.
rookie Hassan Haskins, who's looked kind of decent.
But my other pick here is it's a give me pick. So I'm just going to say it now. Henry over 1,350 in total rushing yards because I already told you I was taking the Henry over 2,100. So I might as well double down and collect some money halfway through.
Yeah, no, I've halfway through. Yeah, no, I mean even with everything, I still played the Henry over 1,350. It just feels right. I'm just not sure that because the truth is, if he only plays 10 games, he can hit 1,350. So, yes. So
that is fast.
Very easy to picture. And my big concerns are my big concerns aren't really Henry related as much as there's just so many questions with this offense. I do think Ryan Tannehill is going to play with a chip on his shoulder this year. I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. But with that said, Robert Woods, old, coming off an ACL. Derrick Henry, coming back from the first major injury of his career. Efficiency has been down recently. Treylon Burks is looking more like preseason last year Jamar Chase than regular season Jamar Chase. With that said, that could easily turn around a couple weeks into the season. But at the same time, the Bengals didn't trade away Jamar Chase to get Jamar Chase.
Right.
The Titans traded away AJ Brown to get. You get what I'm saying? An AJ Brown type player. So the mistake is compounded. And yes, I do like the rookie wideout Kyle Phillips. He's caught my eye, but I'm not like. And some people believe that he has a better chance of being relevant than Treylon Burks. But the truth is, when it all came down to it, the Titans named the second wide receiver as Nick Westbrook in kind. So they're not starting either rookie week one. Like that's you get what I'm saying. Like it's one of those things where it's so the rookies haven't developed the way you want to. You're bringing back a retread receiver who hasn't done much for you in the past, and a guy coming off of a late ACL tear who might not have full availability for week one. And I'm not trying to say that Vrabel isn't going to have an amazing season, that Tannehill won't have a really good season, that Derrick Henry won't have one, that Robert Woods won't have one, Treylon Burks, so on and so forth. I'm just saying there are too many question marks for me to feel good about the Tennessee Titans this year. And maybe they all get answered in the right way. And if any team can do it, it is the Titans because they did it last year. But I don't know. Talk me out of being my own worst enemy on the Titans. You got anything?
I don't, because I don't know which argument you are making. I think you've made multiple arguments during this Titans conversation.
It's a lot of question marks though. Can you ease my mind on even one of those question marks?
No, I can't. And I think though you could fail in most of those areas if you have a healthy Derrick Henry coming back.
Yes.
Derrick Henry alone will drive this team into the wild card.
Okay, so I think that's the way to look at it. Like, you have to go with the assumption that Derrick Henry plays 30 touches, 15 games, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'll give him a game off, or two games off.
Yeah. I was thinking more like 8 quarters when I was saying it. But
yeah.
But it's potato. As far as props go, I definitely I look at the Ryan Tannehill at the 3,600.5. I do not like going under on player props. He had a 17-game season, but I'm going under.
Nice. Way to man up.
What?
I said way to man up.
Yeah. So I don't, because you just covered it. In order for this team to be successful, Derrick Henry has to be the reason.
Right.
And this is the worst receiving core Ryan Tannehill has had. Potentially going back to Miami too, because in Miami he had Jarvis Landry.
So what was their offensive rank last year?
So last year, offensive rank, moving right along, Tennessee was the 17th best offense in the league last year.
Gonna say they're, I don't know. That's hard because I think that's probably right around where they're going to be.
Yeah, I could see them taking a couple of steps back, because the difference in production between, because one of the things you have to remember, the Tennessee run game actually did well,
Right.
even when Derrick Henry wasn't there. I think that the drop off from AJ Brown to whoever wide receiver one is right about what the boost of having Henry back is. So the drop off of wide receiver two, like, has Tannehill ever played with a wide receiver two? So like, I'm not even sure. Like, we can't count Julio Jones last year, right?
Right.
So this is just more of this is just last year with more question marks.
Mm.
So a lot of it comes down to how healthy Henry is going to be. I think it's going to be a little bit worse, but nothing to take them out of the middle of the league. Like, they can't. It's pretty firm in the middle of the league for me.
Yep, that's where I am too.
Defense wise, they had the 12th best defense last year, and in my opinion, they're a borderline right in that area again.
Yeah,
we're asking
Tennessee.
two rookies to replace 2 second-year players between Molding and Farley to replace Jack Rapid Jenkins, and besides that, it's the same defense. So, yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. Rich Rodriguez. Do you remember Rich Rodriguez at all? Rich Rod, he's crazy coach. Anyway, he's found himself all the way into the D2 levels, but his team just put up 35 unanswered points in 8 minutes. Basically half a quarter, they threw up 35 points.
Wow.
And they're playing they're an unranked team. They're probably about top 50, but they're playing the number 10 ranked D2 team in the country, and they just put up 35 unanswered on them. But what I want to say about Houston is, Houston. I keep calling them Houston. That's not good.
Maybe it's maybe it's foreshadowing.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, don't take Malik Willis in your drafts. If you're looking, if you're looking for the rookie quarterback, obviously you go to Kenny Pickett. If Pickett's gone, I still think Ridler, is going to be better, because your chance of Atlanta moving on from Mariota are a lot higher than your chances of Tennessee moving on from Tannehill.
Especially if Henry's healthy, because
yep,
he's going to demand the play action respect again. Yeah, he's still a really good play action quarterback. As far as win totals, they have them at 9. Vegas has them at 9. I don't.
So you're going to stay away because it's an even number.
If it was 9.5 or 8.5, I don't feel comfortable.
So 9 puts him above a game above 500 at the end.
Yep.
If you go under, you're saying that the Titans are going to be under 500.
Correct.
So I'm gonna say,
but I put them on 9 wins this year.
Yeah, for me, this one's gonna be a push, because I think they're probably gonna be right at 9, maybe 10 to get into the wild card.
Okay, I'm okay calling it a push, but I'm not gonna play a push. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. So I'm avoiding this one.
Okay, so that's everything. So when there's a lot of I feel this division more than others. There's, outside of the Tennessee Titans, there's a lot of clarity on. Obviously a lot of the Jaguar stuff is projection, but I think when it really comes down to it, the Texans and the Colts, it's very clear what they're going to be looking like this year. We see the path to what the Jaguars are going to be. So really, the majority of the questions of the division come from the Tennessee Titans, and even then, it's a lot. In my opinion, this division's a lot clearer than some of the other divisions in the NFL. We ranked them the same order. We both did Indy, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Houston. That's the first time we've ranked the same order on a division, if I'm correct. So I think that really kind of shows, like, this is very easy. I could I see the Colts challenging for the 1 seed? I could definitely see the Colts challenging for the 1 seed. It's just until I erred on the side of caution when I was doing my when I was doing my week by week breakdown, and I made the Colts split with the AFC West when I did my breakdown. So
Okay.
one of those things where I was cautious to do that, which is why some of the teams that are facing the AFC and the NFC West, I automatically defaulted whenever I gave a win, I gave a loss also. So that's where there's going to be some fluctuation at the end, because I'm just I'm just trying to be respectful of the fact of divisions like those that you have to take on. I could definitely see the Colts challenging for the best team in the league. And yeah, so I am, all that to say this, very high on the Colts this year. Any final takeaways for you?
No, let's tell the good people what we're recording next, and we can move on.
Okay, so the next thing that we will be recording will be the NFC South show. We're just jumping over. We're talking about Atlanta, Carolina, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. A very a lot more questions and very exciting offenses to talk about as a whole. And news that comes along with them too. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being a part of this. I just really thank all who have done whatever you have done to grow the J Mail for Real community, and listening to the X's and Oh No's NFL podcast. Just really thankful for all of you who tune in. Remember to like, remember to comment, remember to share, subscribe on YouTube, rate us on Google and Apple, and it's up on most platforms. I've been Instagram has been back, Twitter never left, Facebook gets updated with the new info, YouTube gets hit up twice a week in addition to the podcast. So I need to get back on TikTok. It'll be a little easier once the season comes around, but at the same time, everything is moving forward again. Eventually I'll get some music to start the show. I apologize that I haven't gotten there yet. Remember to gamble responsibly. If you need help, seek out help. The number 1-800-GAMBLER works in a lot of states, and it's very easy. Just type gambling addiction into Google and seek out the help that you need. Remember to do it responsibly at all time. Only what you believe in, and only what you have the money for. So just any words on that, Josh, before I wrap this up completely?
Yeah, this is just a good time of year. Every gambler that I know pretty much does this. I do it too. Go ahead, look at the year, figure out what your cap is for each month, and then figure out what your yearly cap is. If you got to cut it before the playoffs, you got to cut it before the playoffs, man. And that has happened to me a few times. And I'll tell you what my thought process is. Well, I'm just studying for the playoffs. I'll put another little bit in during that, and that's it. But just set limits. Know your limits before the season. Don't set them during the year.
Yeah, and another thing, be sure to track. Know what you have where at all times. Like you might think you're plus, but if you're really an addict, there might be that one site that you forgot about. You get what I'm saying?
And I'll say this as far as DraftKings, FanDuel, most I know Penn Nationals Display. I think I'm Jim Grin. Most apps on your phone will let you set a deposit limit, and you can even go as far as setting a weekly deposit limit. Just set that up now. Set your weekly deposit limit. Know what you can afford to lose, and don't lose any more than that.
Okay, so thank you all once again, and I hope that we helped a little. Maybe we shed a little light on something that you weren't thinking of so much before, and so now we are out like Roger Goodell's integrity.